Australia recently enacted like a world first law for banning social media usage for children under the age of 16.
The government should turn off social media at 7 p.m. Full stop. The world's first upside-down driving car, the McMurtry Speirling, an electric hypercar.
It's a hypercar, so it's not even production.
No, it's not a production vehicle.
Okay.
Yet.
Yeah.
Just pictured a general. He's thinking, is like, this is too much. Opens ChatGPT. Drop nuke year on year.
yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Evans.
Hi guys, I'm Dominic.
And welcome to the
Yes, sir.
So, Dominic, we've had a number of things, or as usual, we have our stories.
Yes.
I believe this is first start to the things that piqued our interest before diving deeper into one of the stories one of our stuff. So for me, the main thing that piqued my attention in the past week was the creeping of AI into actual everyday life.
Well, that's kind of daily these days, to be honest.
But in a more consequential way, as you come to see. In New York, a 74-year-old man, he stunned the courtroom when he used an AI-generated video to act as his lawyer. He said he had a voice problem, so he couldn't quite talk, and so instead was relying on the AI video.
Wait, it's a pre-recorded AI video? Is it like a deepfake?
Yes.
Or is it like an actual attorney?
No. It's one of these videos where, one of the sites where you go and you pick a selected character and then you give him I don't know if
like
it's a script or something.
Okay.
I don't know if it like did any generation or just give it like a prompt to. But the point is, he basically made a video out of AI to represent him as his lawyer in court. The judge was having none of that. So she dismissed it. She did not allow for that case to
literally be had. So there was no defense or...
No, she didn't allow for the AI agent to represent him.
Very interesting.
And so I just keep saying about it. Every day, we just... last week we were talking about how, Shopify and the extent that we're going towards not hiring new people until you use AI. Now people are testing the waters.
People
are like,
pushing the limit.
I mean, if you're using it every day, it kind of feels like, let me try it here.
Yeah.
Let me try it here. And
it's actually quite interesting, but like maybe completely unrelated, but in the legal space, the only thing I had, I think, is this German or European AI startup. It's called Zane with an X. I think they raised like 73 million to just use AI agents that are trained on European law to either heavily, not litigate really, but really help a lot of legal folks. And I think that's actually a very interesting use case. Like properly training models on specific litigation for a specific jurisdiction. Like, man, it just makes so much sense for an LLM use case because it's a lot of reading, a lot of writing, and so like AI models just make so much sense in law, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't think about it earlier.
If you get to a point where people start getting comfortable or courts start to allow AI to represent, that means even the prosecution will have to turn to AI.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the judge eventually will have to be AI.
I saw this funny video of, I think I'm going to send it to the producers, like of how AI gens will take over. Like, I think it was ChatGPT that was prompted. If you were to do world domination, how would you do it?
If you were to hypothetically take over the world as an AI, how would you start?
Hypothetically, if an AI were to take over the world, it would probably start by controlling information, influencing decisions subtly through media, and optimizing systems to gain control over resources. But don't worry, I'm just here for the chats, not world domination.
And I think basically the TLDR of the whole video was it starts with overdependence until you don't even notice that literally it runs your whole world or something of the sort. And at that point you're just too far in. So I mean, if you're depending on it for your literally for your life, because I think that's what it means to have literally an AI defend you in court.
Yeah, because just imagine, I can picture in future, perhaps the judge won't be an AI. That's probably not going to happen.
It makes sense.
But
do you think it makes more sense for
what I would
picture AI?
No, what I'd picture
no biases.
No.
That's like a moot. That's a moot argument.
Eventually, you'd always want a human to like. I think for most people, if you're going to send someone to jail or to die, you'd want that to be in the hands of a person. But it's very likely that they'd have a tool.
Yeah. Really, who passed the judgment is the real question. Is it
so they'll be like
the mouthpiece who's the judge, or really the AI that made the determination?
He'd be looking straight down his laptop and he's like, this guy, given his history, you just send him.
It's actually quite funny, but that's actually part of my main story today. So I'll talk to you about how I actually think it's already killing people.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. Anyway, let me lead in with ahoy, mate. The Aussies really caught my attention this week, yeah? So, Australia recently enacted like a world first law for banning social media usage for children under the age of 16. So, many people have talked about litigating social media usage, social media apps. People have always tried to find new ones, but nobody has ever done like an outright ban. So this law was specifically made to target like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Reddit, and X. So basically, I think they pretty much face fines of up to 50 million if they allow any under 16 users on the platform. And the law was already approved actually in November last year, but they've been given like a grace period through this year. And I think just around last week, there was a lot of stir in Australia and zeitgeist over just this particular regulation. And obviously the normal use case and the normal argument is usually, not usually, but it probably is true. This probably research doubting this, like it's usually for child safety, online bullying, a lot of these mental effects.
Will they be taking down the data? Are they meant to be taking down data for 16-year-olds and younger who are already on the platform? So how do they enforce it?
Exactly. Now, that's actually the biggest issue. I think for me, it's enforcement. First, obviously, the big tech companies like the Twitters, actually X, I think even Elon came out to completely saying it's government overreach. And like a bunch of guys, they're saying they're trying to call for like a nuanced approach around it. But you know what nuanced approach usually means? Nuanced. Nuanced. But really, it's I think the big idea here is that these guys have to agree on like some age verification tech to indeed say hey, these are users under the age of 16. But you see, if you've used KYB, if you've used any KYC software, right? And it's so difficult.
Comes in.
Exactly. So, guys are apparently, so this is the hypothesis. Australia is going to be like the guinea pig country for like all these computer vision models, all these image record models. Because, children under the age of 16 don't technically have like IDs, do they?
No.
But I don't know about Australian law. Maybe the Australians will have to tell us. We need you from Australia. Anyway, the point is, if they don't have government-issued IDs to verify that they are over 18, which is typical for most KYC, KYB software, because most KYC, KYB software depend on like actually government-issued identification documents that are typically issued to folks probably above 18. Yeah. You have to depend on like image recognition models or something to determine the age of someone. What if it's that kid who looks like a 28-year-old or something?
I think we need to look this up, but if I'm not wrong, China. Was that Beijing? China. So a few, whether a year or, that can't be a year, at least 2 years or more. So I remember reading a story about how they made their gaming companies lock out children past a certain time or past a certain amount of playtime. So I don't know if they're using the camera.
Yes.
So in a sense, we do already have a pilot. There is technologically a pilot for that kind of technology across a huge scale of users. And so we need to see.
Then there's a question there. Two questions first. One, It's actually something that came up when I was doing this reading, because I know China has actually done that. A fun story as well is South Korea had actually implemented an under 16 ban for kids to not game after, I think, midnight to 3 or something. But it failed spectacularly, actually. In fact, it's literally been overruled as ineffective, because kids will game if they want to game, and they will bypass whatever restriction. They'll either use VPNs. And I think it's actually the funny thing is that unless this seeps into other markets, like, people will just bypass it. And kids under 18 will just use VPNs, or they'll find their way to use social media apps if they want to use social media apps. And we know how it usually is. If this thing is a success, the counter argument will probably hold. Other jurisdictions will want to implement the same law and basically follow. So, I mean, it's like a hit or miss. And now I was thinking about the impact for a lot of the social media.
Do you think it's a good thing?
Do you think it's like, the debate is it overreach or is it...
No, don't change the subject. I asked, do you think it's a good thing?
Personally, child would not use any social media app probably before the age of 16. So, on a personal stance, I would not have my child use that. On a societal level, I don't know if the argument should hold for everyone. I don't know if I don't know if I want to pass this as a blanket.
You see now the point is that you're too soft. You're too soft.
It's not
100% holds. Oh, okay. Adults have a problem. I had to get on social media.
You see, okay, for those, it's a common sense approach, right? It's a common sense approach towards things like bullying, like, mental image.
The government should turn off social media at 7 p.m. Full stop.
The government should turn off social media at 7 p.m.
And it's not like I'm not saying it as if like it's some kind of a wild take, but there definitely should be some kind of way to put a pause.
You know the peak hours for social media usage in most countries? Just imagine the window.
6 to 9? 6 to 10?
1000%. 6 to 9, 6 to actually 10 p.m. That's the best time to run ads.
Yeah.
That's the best time to literally maximize usage.
Do you know what's also the best time to do at that time? To lock it down.
To do to lock it down.
That's also the
7 p.m.
To lock it down.
Very interesting.
Get to work.
You know what?
Get to work.
Very interesting takes.
Go to sleep.
Very interesting takes. But anyway, I suspect, and I heavily, how do I say this? I heavily prophesize that it's going to fail spectacularly. I think kids will bypass.
And the lobbyists.
Yeah, and the lobbyists will probably, pull the levers of capitalism well enough to soften the nuances around, that. And then think about the time value for money. I think if I'm just not gonna, I'm not even gonna steal, man. I'm just gonna take the POV of these companies. Think about it. These guys need to be training data for folks. Imagine how valuable it is if you've been a lifelong, let's say, Meta user since you were like 14, to how you grew, like how much data they have on you. This is not even like a Black Mirror episode. It's just like the reality of, they just know how your tastes and preferences have shifted over the years. So having access to folks before they even like become adults is like massively valuable. Now, if this thing becomes a success in Australia, Area 51, codename Zero, like it will seep into every other jurisdiction. They cannot afford to lose this 16-year-old European. For Africans, I don't know, man. Like, they couldn't do without us. It's a significant, small portion of them. No, actually, they wouldn't. Actually, population, because and also population trend.
Yes, and if a business is ads, it's all about the volumes. Yeah. So it's all about the trend in regards to where the market is going to be. So
Africa is probably going to be, in the next decade, is probably going to be the biggest consumer market in the world. I was actually looking at some stats on...
Yeah, which is why they need to shut it down now. Shut it down now.
That's left to be seen.
Shut it down now, as we speak. Yes or yes?
AI-generated social media apps. Wow.
So you lost me.
Moving on.
And we move on to the next story.
Yes.
So, it's a bit of a cliche for me to get into car stories.
Oh man, you're doing cars
But
again.
cars, but
Mm-hmm.
it's different this time.
Is it really ever? Okay.
Not really, but I might as well try. So I remember there's a time we were watching this video on the micro mouse.
Yeah, I remember.
What it is there's a competition where people build autonomous small
Toys.
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 Yes, toys
They're
basically
like heavily
that are meant to
engineered.
yes. They're meant to solve a maze autonomously. And so at first, we'll look at the video and like this is about algorithms and the strategies they use to get ahead.
Yeah.
And then we saw that there's even an engineering side of it.
Yeah.
I remember on one of these small toys, they placed it upside down, and because it had a small fan. Creating that downforce, it could stay.
It stayed like rooted. Like
it could be suspended upside down and would stay impacted. And I remember thinking about this and being like, this would be cool if it was in a car.
Yeah.
But no, we can't put fans on a car. It doesn't make sense.
So basically, the idea here is when you put a fan, it acts like a suction, right?
Yes.
So
it's a big
down,
vacuum.
Basically, it makes the
Sucks
car
it to the ground.
really pushed down.
Yes.
Okay.
And so in the year of our Lord 5,
in the year of
dreams are coming true because I ran into the story of the McMurtry. So it's an electric car, the world's first upside down driving car, the McMurtry Speirling, an electric hypercar.
It's a hypercar, so it's not even production.
No, it's not a production vehicle.
Okay.
Yet.
Okay.
And you'll see why I'm saying yet. But the TLDR of that car is 0 to 60 in 1.4 seconds.
Ooh, 1.4. Yeah. How fast is a Tesla? Like, because I know 0 to 60, like quarter mile, like
it's not 1.4.
Okay, fair enough.
Whatever
like sub 3 though.
Whatever it is not 1.4.
Okay.
And I say this because I was watching a video with them racing against the Rimac, which I think before then was like the fastest electric car, and against a Formula 1 car, and it was shocking. And at the same time, it weighs 1,000 kilograms, but produces 2,000.
1,000 kilograms. That's like super light, like for
It weighs 1,000 kilograms and produces 2,000 kilograms of downforce.
It's funny. I've actually looked at 0 to 60 fastest cars. Your McMurtry that I've never heard of until now is actually number 1. Then a Dodge Challenger SRT. Anyway, it's 1.6. That's pretty fast. So, like a lot of these cars, Rimac is the only one.
Yeah, we're going to show a video and we're going to see how the car is suspended upside down. And this is from their own YouTube channel. And for context, and okay, you don't really need me to explain.
Well, Tesla 1.9.
The car is not moving, but is able to make enough downforce for it to suspend itself upside down.
Interesting. Wait, what do you mean suspend itself upside
down? It's put on a platform. We're going to show the video. It's put on a platform and it slowly turns upside down, but the car does not fall. It stays planted to the platform.
Oh, okay.
Because it's sucking
itself.
And so it gives it enough downforce to maneuver all the corners quite well without having to worry about grip.
Okay, so because the biggest problem, and I think this is like normal with F1 and the balance that F1 cars are always trying to like optimize for year over year, it's usually how to balance things like downforce versus drag, right? If you optimize too much for downforce, you need to add a lot of things on the car, which add a lot of drag, which can now reduce the speed. So basically, it's like one of those things where you cannot have everything.
Yes,
at the same time.
Everything is a compromise.
Okay.
Except for this car, I guess. And I think for me, the underlying thing that I thought stood out was, I keep thinking to myself, how do I describe what is innovation? Is it a new invention? I think we've seen a lot of new inventions and we wouldn't necessarily call them innovation.
Okay.
Is it how well something permeates in the market? There are some things which are not new that we consider innovation. I know for the longest time, we called Uber innovation, something that's innovative, which I'd agree, but it wasn't necessarily doing something
novel, like
too new.
People are just combine normal things.
And so, if I could describe what in my opinion is innovation, I think I'd say it's any new invention or way of going about something that makes us think differently about whatever subject matter this is. Like in the sense of Uber, I'd say it is innovative in the sense that it made taxis, it made us think about hailing taxis not as a luxury anymore, but more as a necessity to move around, as any other kind of purchase. Whereas before, I think people used to, it felt more like a luxury, at least for me, from the way I saw it. And so the reason why I bring that up is I think electric cars have brought that sense of innovation, because when I look around, just to give an example, there's the BYD Yangwang U9.
Yangwang.
What's up, Beijing?
What's up, Beijing?
Was that Beijing?
So there's yes, which literally jumps over potholes and road spikes, and that's interesting. We have this the McMurtry, which now they've been like, let's just throw fans, a vacuum under the car. The Escalade, the 2025 Escalade has this crab walk, which at first, when you saw it on the Hammer, we were like, this is just a gimmick.
Very gimmicky.
But then now they're putting it on a car, on one of the most successful nameplates. So it's serious about this. And what I think, the reason why I think electric cars, at least in these kind of generations, are innovative, they've made us really look at vehicles and just ask, what can we do?
Like, it's almost like you want to throw away the rule.
Yes, there's no formula. Throw away the rule book and be like, if you can do this, let's try it. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's add the fun to the bottom of the car and see if we stick.
For all the hate that Elon Musk gets, like one of the things I actually fundamentally think he's really good at is his philosophy of first principles thinking. It's about, like, when you look at a problem, break down the problem like to its core first principles, and at that point you will realize multiple ways of redoing something that is so, how do I say, it is so under your nose, it is so obvious that, like, something as simple as rethinking propulsion of a vehicle from, like, we almost had it ingrained that it has to be fossil fuels.
A vehicle has to look like this.
Yeah, a vehicle
has to be powered like this. It has to have four more cylinders.
Yeah, exactly.
Diesel can look in the front back.
Yeah.
And then every day I'm just, especially from China, you keep seeing the vehicles.
So,
and it's like, something has changed.
Low-key hot tech, I think the Chinese are actually more first principles thinkers in many of these innovations. Like, they take something and then they literally go wild with it.
You remember the book from the Innovator's Dilemma, where you have incumbents who have a way of thinking which is very set. Like, people and companies tend to be very set in their ways. And so even if they do acknowledge and embrace new technology, they try to fit it to their current existing model. The frame of reasoning. But so if you look at an electric car from a VW or from a traditional automaker, the engine or whatever is still at the front. Whereas if you compare something like a Tesla, again, the chassis at the bottom, frunk and everything. Yeah. Where in this case, if you look at the traditional makers, like, they tend to retrofit the innovation into their current cars. Whereas new car companies, they just, hey, we have a new, let's just
way
build
of
a car.
thinking about this.
Yeah.
But you see, like, I mean, neither is kind of wrong, to be honest. It takes a very great company to be both, in my opinion, because, I mean, the opportunity cost of you just throwing away what works for an extremely audacious, like, direction takes a lot of guts.
And remember that they've built a lot of processes people
and optimize. It's the same way we are looking at Tesla right now, how it's kind of falling behind in just electric car manufacturing, behind China at least. So it's not really a chicken and egg. It's just a matter of opportunity cost, I think, and that's the big problem, in my opinion.
So all in all, I think I'm very bullish. I can't wait to see what people will do. We're gonna have fast cars.
Let me ask you: all this talk of electric cars, like, are you actually, like, down for that now? Like, are you, like, would you buy one? Would you cop one out? You had the option between an electric.
It depends. Give me the comparison. Give me the comparison right here.
BYD,
which one
versus the most utilitarian? Because I know you and Toyotas and maybe trucks.
At this moment, actually, there's a Chinese car that really piqued my interest. It's the Li Auto L9.
Oh yeah, I remember. It's like a truck, though. It's like an SUV.
It's a proper SUV.
So nobody in Kenya, Makiu, for instance, because we're in Kenya right now, nobody in Kenya has a Li, drives a Li. Would you be the first one?
It takes courage And also a lot of money.
You really might, bro.
I would. You would if I had a lot of money to throw.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway,
so we move to the next thing that was interesting.
Yes, actually. So imagine this, yeah. Early 2022, some guy walks into a war room bunker in the war zone, in the heart of the war zone, in Ukraine versus Russia, in Kyiv. You would think they're going there to probably close the deal for more, naval warfare or like massive air warfare coming in. But no, this guy is some guy called Alex Schwab. He's the CEO of Palantir, and he actually went to closing a very big deal for a software deal, just to examine and mobilize like drone footage to show where do you best place enemy targets and everything. So over the last 2 weeks, and I've been seeing this all over my TL, Palantir has been really reaping the stock market. And obviously, I had to look into it. I was just
I remember during the time when Wall Street Bets was in the mainstream. Yeah, everyone just talk about how they all talk about investments in Palantir.
Everyone is just investing in Palantir. You should insert that car, Lord of the Rings, ball, the Palantir ball. Anyway, so I started looking into Palantir, and I thought it was a very interesting company to look into. But more than just looking into Palantir as a company, I started looking into the traditional, war tech companies. What's the big deal? What's the big fuzz? There's companies like Anduril. There's companies like some guys called Shield AI that are really, really reaping right now. They're not being valued as traditional government contractors. They're being valued as
they're not seen as Lockheed Martin.
They're not seen as Lockheed Martin. So basically, that caught my interest, and I was like, hey, okay, let me start looking into Palantir and what's really, really big about them. So the first thing, obviously, I started looking at was their business model. So for context, Palantir has these two main platforms. It has one called Foundry and another one called Gotham. So Foundry is both of Foundry and Gotham are data analysis platforms, basically taking a lot of data, a lot of big bunch.
Power BI, but with guns.
Basically Power BI with guns, or OP, Oracle on steroids or something of that sort. And it's actually funny because I had a conversation with a friend of mine who was asking me about all the efficiencies we're doing in fintech, because that's where I work. How it would really ripple into energy, because they're in the energy sector, and they're telling me how a lot of information for them is very siloed. So it's very hard to make strategic calls over over what business decisions to make, because marketing has their own sort of data and they're keeping it themselves. You need to have 20,000 meetings to just kind of come up with good strategy. It would be way better. Now imagine this in a war zone as well. There's someone on the ground. There's military units that need to be deployed.
You're managing the fight.
You're managing the fight. You're managing the risk. Exactly. You're managing the, especially on the risk aspect. Because, you miss it on the risk aspect, lives are involved. This is now the problem of war. So you can see already how data analysis platforms are really, really big for these guys. But now, again, to be able to efficiently run a lot of these tools, you need a resident data analyst in the military, obviously in the military regiment or something of that sort, and that is a heavy retraining course and everything like that. Now enter in the reason why I think Palantir has been reaping it in the stocks. They've done this thing called Palantir AI platform, AIP, which is basically let's call it private cloud for running your models on sensitive military data without it being exposed. I think it's basically an environment on top of now Gotham and Foundry. Gotham is their military data analysis platform that they sell to, government contracts and stuff. Foundry is the one for now commercial. So enterprises, for businesses that are very keen on having sensitive data for themselves. Now this platform, Palantir AIP, is kind of on top of those two. And you can imagine why it's pretty, pretty cool. Because now you can run your own custom LLMs on top of Palantir's products and securely, crunch that data in natural language. Now it just takes an army general to say, hey, given the current, data, or like even the current situation on the ground. What's the best strategy to maybe make an affront on this, or what's the best place to target the next missile or drone things? So in a nutshell, that's why one of the reasons why Palantir has been really, really key. They have a really cool product actually. But then again, traditional contractors, guys like Lockheed, guys like Raytheon, RTX, Boeing. So these guys are usually very interesting. They run a very waterfall like approach with the government. So they go to the government, and because of the capital, the relational capital as contractors they've earned over years, they go and close a contract to build something very specific. But they're very strong on the hardware stuff, right? Like, but now here's the thing: they will do like an F-45 or they'll like a missile over like 5-10 years.
300.
Like,
is it like 300? How much?
Like it's usually 300 to the billions.
No?
For each like F-45 like fighter plane or something. I don't have the exact stats. You can pull that.
The price.
You can typically pull. So they rely on like very big one-off contracts, right?
Yeah.
And long-term service stroke support bills with very little recurring software revenue. But Palantir has been able to create this almost subscription like mode.
It's $8.2 million
Per
F-35. So, with the help of our subscribers, I think we can definitely get one.
No, wait, what? You're an F-45.
I want one.
You don't even have a piloting license. Let's start there.
No. We start with the vehicle, and then we learn to drive.
Okay.
Yes.
So
commit some war crimes in.
So that's the first thing that I think I caught that had like a very big distinction between like the business model for most traditional warfare contractors versus like Palantir. Palantir, for them, the approach is they actually come with like an almost ready-made solution. They already have the tools out of the box.
Because it's data.
Anything that they're customizing is very little, right? As per the contract. And the dependency ratio for them is very heavy. For them to like be able to actually renew. That's actually like now the massive approach with the new government contractor types, the Andy Reels. Andy Reels will sell you like hardware, like drone technology and stuff like that. But they have this massive product add-on called Lattice. It's like their software. And it's the same with Shield AI and all these things. And most of the time, you'll find that they work together. Like Lattice is, like Andy Reel works very closely with Palantir to run like Lattice on a very secure Palantir AIP. You can get like, so now they easily subcontract each other when they're closing in a lot of these government contracts.
Okay, my question is, because we've known of Palantir for quite some time, like going on years back.
Yeah.
But now with the whole blowing up of AI, are there new entrants into the market?
Yes.
Because, I mean, sure, they've built a lot of data analysis modes with regards to their process, but what about the innovation that is AI? Has that brought about any new players that would challenge a Palantir?
Yes, it has. So I noted a couple of startups. There's one called Helsing, and there's also Shield AI. But most of these guys fundamentally build models that are tailored for military strategy, right? Like for a particular country, right? And you see, the reason why I don't think there's a one shoe fits all government contractor is that they can still run all those models on top of Palantir.
Oh, okay.
Like Palantir doesn't bend a lock you into like you have to use only, let's say, ChatGPT's models to build your military strategy. You can bring your own model and then just run it. It's like a secure cloud type thing.
I've just pictured a general. He's thinking as like, this is too much. Opens ChatGPT, drop nuke here on here.
yeah.
And then ChatGPT is like,
so
sell us.
Now, this is the reason I was telling you. It could already be killing lives.
Okay.
Think about it. So Ukraine uses Palantir's tech to optimize where to drop the nukes. Technically speaking, who's making the call?
It's still the person. Because in the same vein, they were using, I don't know if it's like whatever tool they were using, even if it's Excel, even if you're just drawing whatever your calculations on Excel, you still, the distance still falls with you on the decision of the strategy. So it might be improving your decisioning, it might be making it more accurate, more lethal, but in the end, I think it's still your decision.
Okay. Have you ever heard of this concept of a Janus face? Janus face, like where you have like two faces with extreme contradictions. So to allies, Palantir is amazing. Palantir is a contractor that you want, but it's a private company, can be contracted with multiple jurisdictions. As it is right now, as it stands, Palantir contracts with the US government, it contracts with NATO, it contracts with the UK now. I think they have like a 3-year project going on. So, it's there for anyone's bid.
It is.
So,
it is.
Where does it stand ethically, in your opinion, as a government contractor enabling more efficient, software tooling for people to kill each other more efficiently?
I'd say it is amoral in that it is neither good nor bad. In the same way, we don't think of Glocks and M16s and try to wonder, are they ethical or not? Are they ethical or not?
Some people do, though. Some people do. But
perhaps we'll have them on our show, another discussion. But from where I stand, if Jeep sells its cars to the military, do we say it's immoral?
So for you, it's business.
I don't see how they are that different unless they themselves are making those decisions with regards to strategy and all that, which again I see them just as a tool as much as any other company.
So a lot of these companies, these new age government contractors, front themselves as they try to make the moral case that they push for their business with only democratic governments because they believe democratic governments need to stay ahead. They need to have advanced tech over their more authoritative adversaries. So
that's on them. That is a strategic decision on the business.
So that's as long as they're falling under the knife where they're either making or losing money because of that decision.
We talk about war, yes. A situation where there has to be a winner and a loser. In most cases, you both lose, but someone has to still come out on top. So everyone is looking for the advantage.
Interesting. Well, Palantir is a very interesting stock. But just for full disclosure, I'm now invested in it. So yeah, I'm buying the bull.
You're buying the dip.
No, it's
riding heights.
So right now I'm riding the bull.
Fair enough. Onto my final story, which is about Ubisoft, the game company.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to describe it. Ubisoft has perhaps given into how did they describe it? They gave into capitalistic sentiments of materialistic greed.
Wait, what?
Anyway, so there was this news story about Ubisoft and Tencent. For context, Ubisoft is a really large studio.
Game publisher.
Yeah, they have like 45 studios, 20,000 employees.
Oh wait, they have like 45 studios under them, so it's like an umbrella.
Yes, many of these big companies will have many smaller studios under them, under the publisher. And they have some of the biggest gaming franchise. For example, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Rainbow Six, or the Tom Clancy series, Watch Dogs.
There's a new Assassin's Creed coming out. The trailers actually look really, really sick.
Yeah. So, I think it's already out if I'm not wrong.
No, it's the Ancient Samurai, the Japanese one.
That I believe should already be out. But you can check.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about them is that they are starting a new company that will house their IPs. And by IPs, I mean the 3 big IPs, Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, and Far Cry. And that's going to have an investment of $1.2 billion from Tencent. And the reason why I think that's interesting is because, like I said, it basically means that they're not doing well, at least in my opinion, because they went from, in the past 5 years, they've lost about 80% of their values. At their peak, they were at $11 billion, and now they are at, I believe, $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
So they've shared like 87% of their value or something to that extent. And the new subsidiary that they've built, or the new company, the new entity that they have, moved the IPs to, is worth $4 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me puts in this position where like, if I'm really doing such a good job managing whatever IP I have, why do I need to set up a new company, have someone else invest, and then only receive the royalties from it? And I think it's because they are at this point. Okay, just to put some context, gaming, selling of games is
extremely capex heavy.
Yes, it's a very risky business.
Yeah.
Think about the way how we talk about movies, how Marvel has invested, how much into Snow White and they're hoping to make it back in the first open weekend. I think it's like twice as hard with games because you have to invest a similar amount for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
And you're hoping to again get it back. For them, you see like a drop of like 30% year on year.
Yeah.
But it's still a hit or miss because as with most other creative endeavors, you have to put it out there and people will be the judge over whether it's they want to invest.
Yeah.
Yes. And for Ubisoft, I think they've been
on a serious series of misses.
They've been on a series of
especially the Assassin's Creed, which is it should be the biggest franchise, right?
Yes. And so with them creating this new entity, I believe it's the way of Tencent, who had also invested in Ubisoft in the past.
Yeah.
I think what they did is that they saw the trajectory of the company, they saw how they're managing the IPs, and they said, we do not want to be part of this, but there is a lot of value in the IPs that you hold in the franchise. And you see the other thing as well, because it's such a hit or miss, people really try to hold on to the franchise because it by definition carries a huge user base. This Assassin's Creed, the latest Assassin's Creed, I believe, was the highest selling for them on the first day from some extent. It did really well.
Shadows.
But a lot of Assassin's Creed Shadows, a lot of it is it riding on the franchise. It doesn't so to say it's a bad game or anything, but it just goes to show how much leverage or how much value it is in the IP itself. And so for me it's interesting because now it means that Ubisoft have been given a bit of a lifeline.
Yeah.
They might, depending on how they steer the ship, they might, they might ride it well. But of course, it means they're probably going to have to downsize. They're going to have to be lean. They're going to have to either cut their cost, find a way to be more efficient in how they build their games, so that as they take these massive swings, they don't. After 5 years, I mean, some games even take. I believe there's one of the games which was 10 years in development. You can't pour 100 million for 10 years and then and then need to put these live services and only make a profit after 5 or break even in 5. That doesn't make sense. So let's hope and see. My only gripe is that Tencent did not only ask for the 3. They should have put Watch Dogs in because
Watch Dogs fan.
Because I played
Watch Dogs fan.
Watch Dogs 2 was one of my best games. Watch Dogs 3 was terrible. And it needs new management. I'm begging for new management. So please, Tencent, reconsider, add Watch Dogs to
the AP. But Tencent has actually been on a roll publishing really good games. So I think they are probably leveraging their own input in managing Ubisoft's IP.
Yes.
So for a fact, I think that's a good thing, having Tencent over. 2, I'm just checking out like the Assassin's Creed reviews and it's not looking good, man. It's like, well, I don't like Metacritic and IGN because these are usually like very select folks.
But
it's easy to game.
The user base on Steam tells you how valuable it is.
So,
and it's been...
Yeah. And
I think the game did well, but given the misses that they've been having, they needed it to be like spectacular. They needed to be like a GTA 5 kind of performance, or like the anticipated GTA 6 kind of performance, where it's very likely going to make all its revenue. And
GTA 5 because GTA 6 is coming.
GTA 6,
hey,
yes. So I'm saying GTA 6 will probably make its revenue back in the first day,
first month or something.
No, bro, in the first 3 days, guaranteed it will make a profit.
Good.
Do you remember that GTA 6 is the
are you a gambling man?
GTA 6 is the highest selling
GTA 5.
GTA 5 is the highest selling
game.
piece of entertainment, not game, piece of entertainment in history. Okay. And it's only second. It's only the
only second.
The second highest selling piece of entertainment after GTA 5 is
RDR
from
2. From the same
people are
Rockstar fans.
People are awaiting GTA 6. So even if it's a bad game, I still think it's going to make them back their monney. And I think we should probably do a deep dive on Take-Two or GTA in future.
Is it Take-Two or Rockstar?
Take-Two is the publishing company that owns Rockstar.
Oh, okay.
That makes...
And also did that VR.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So... I think we need to do like a deep dive on how, because of all that, all other game companies lose, like the revenue drops after each game because demand is slowing down.
Yeah,
Rockstar
is the only one that actually either
revenues has been growing year on year, and so we'll just have to see. Do let us know if you're interested in such a topic.
Interested in games,
and we'll cover it.
Got you.
But that's it for me.
Yeah, we are out of time. I guess we have to say goodbye at this point. It's been a fun episode.
It has. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining. Please remember to share, subscribe, comment, unsubscribe, hit confirm.
Yes.
Thank you.